Lasers are dangerous, guys. Hi, I'm Marta and this is NotEnoughTECH. A couple of days ago I've seen a SmarterEveryDay video about laser hacking and you just been hacked. Okay, you haven't been hacked, this is not how it works, but if you look at the video from Dustin, you'll understand what laser hacking is and how you can use it to exploit the microphones placed in your smart devices like Google Home or Alexa Echo devices. Now, the essential attack and how it works is basically use the laser light to stimulate the membrane in the device itself, imitating a voice command. So exactly the same way as you would send a voice command, you can do it with light, except it's absolutely silent, well, if you don't count the responses from the device itself. In a real life, probability of this happening is quite small. The first thing I did, even though that was the first time I actually seen such attempt, I've read similar stuff before, I went around my devices and see which device would be potentially exposed to such attack, and none of them actually was in position to be hacked through the window. The risk of this isn't that big, plus if you're using Google or Amazon compatible devices, these are actually come with protection, preventing attackers or laser hacks from happening on certain devices. So if you just want to toggle the lights, everyone can actually do it, or change the value of the thermostat, that's fine. But if you want to unlock a door or a garage, these compatible devices will prompt you to either unlock your phone and do it from your phone, or enter a PIN number to authorize the change. So in such circumstances the attack wouldn't be as easy. Now Dustin points out in a video that you can actually attempt this attack multiple times. However, considering that you have to execute the voice prompt and then provide the PIN, that attack would last quite long by the time you would get to the correct PIN combination. Nonetheless, this is a method that is possible, and in certain circumstances you will be able to perform attack like this. What's more likely to happen is actually voice injection or audio injection, which means that a similar voice can either unlock your device, or a recording of your voice would be able to actually access that ecosystem and pass the commands. However, in those circumstances, again, the secure devices like locks, etc., they would prompt you to use a PIN. Why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because this would apply also to your DIY home automation service, so your Node-RED server or Home Assistant as well. So if you have them and they are linked to your Home Assistant, chances are some of the commands won't be protected by PIN, and as such they are exposed to attacks either by the audio injection or, you know, a more complicated version of this laser pointer. So in this video I'd like to introduce you to a couple of ideas that you can deploy in your home automation system to prevent or to stop those attacks from happening, and just add extra security layer to your setup. So first of all, it's going to be obviously what Dustin mentioned, position of your home device. Now, it is unlikely that your device is going to be there exposed to a laser. However, if you have devices with a screen, the microphone in those devices, it's placed in such a way that it makes it more easier to actually perform such attack. However, for voice injection attacks, you don't need a direct sight, and anyone from outside of the window by screaming could activate a device like this. Now, if you want to deploy extra security that will prevent you from laser attack, and they sound so scary, then you could 3D print an enclosure for your device, something awesome like this R2D2 enclosure for your Amazon Echo. Now bear in mind that 3D printing an enclosure that's going to obscure the microphone itself or provide extra layers of security for laser penetration can cause your voice recognition to be slightly worse, so bear that in mind. Now, another two things you can do to your home automation server is something I spoke before. Now, if you look at this video, it's going to introduce you to a concept of two-factor authentication, which means any action happening on Nodle server would be subject to authorization from your mobile phone. So if you want, for example, a trigger to happen, like garage to open, you would get a notification on your phone asking you whether you would like to automatically reject this after a specific amount of time or authorize the change. In this video, I'm going to focus on the holiday mode. Holiday mode, it will be something very similar. It will allow you to globally disable all voice activations. So whether you directing your lights, whether you directing your smart plugs, or whether you have elaborate system of opening your garage doors, you can deactivate that with a single command and restore the access for the voice commands with a command and a password. In addition to that, that password, it's not going to be with unlimited attempts. There's going to be a limit on how many attempts you can perform before you actually have to log into the system to restore the access. Now, the advantage of this method is that you don't have to walk around and mute every single device before you leave, so you can deploy this overnight when you know that none of the voice activations will happen on certain actions, or when you're going for holidays, you just activate that remotely. Behind me, I have a light which is connected via Son of Basic device to the internet, and I can obviously issue voice commands to turn it on and off. Now, this is linked to my Google ecosystem using EWLink app, so this is the default method how you would link any of the devices via appropriate bridge or skill, depending on which ecosystem you're using. So when you activate the device via voice control, you can do it in a very simple way, like, hey, turn the test lamp on.
So I can't help you with that at the moment.
Okay, there was nothing you could do to prevent the light from turning on. Obviously, if that was my voice control action, that's fine, but if that was triggered by a voice injection or laser hacking, well, you just got hacked. I know the ramifications of that aren't very serious, but let's examine how would that work with a DIY automation server using Son of a Basic but Zigbee edition, where I have a full control over how that voice command is going to be processed. Now I've swapped the devices around, and now I'm controlling this light with a Zigbee version of the Son of Basic. This means that right now I only have control over my Node-RED server. Because I'm using Gbridge, I still can send the voice commands via Google Home or Amazon Echo devices, so from the user perspective there is no change. If you want to know more details about the Gbridge, just click on here on this video in the corner and I'll explain in how it works and how to use it in your home automation. So if I'm going to perform action like turn test light off.
Sure, turning off the test light.
As you can see, the light went off as intended because the holiday mode wasn't enabled. So let's enable holiday mode. Trigger holiday mode. Right now the holiday mode has been enabled, which means my voice activations are useless. So let's try it out. Turn test light on.
Sure, turning the test light on.
As you can see, this is no mistake. The action has been correctly sent to the server, however my server has stopped it because it discovered this light is in a holiday mode and shall not be activated unless I'm going to deactivate the holiday mode. To deactivate the holiday mode, I have to provide a password. Now this password can be entered in my particular servers 5 times per hour, and if you're going to fail after 5 times to provide the correct password, you have to wait an hour before you can try 5 more times again, and so on and so on. You can obviously, I've made it customizable, so you can disable how many times you can enter the password and whether you have a refresh of the password or not, or you can even link it with two-factor authentication to restore the password count. Welcome to the Node-RED section. How holiday mode works. All you have to do really is just drop this switch node, which basically checks the global value of the holiday. If the holiday is set to false, it will let the messages through, otherwise it will stop the messages from going through. So at the moment, if I'm gonna clear in everything, you'll notice that the holiday mode isn't enabled. Now if I'm gonna ask trigger holiday mode, the holiday mode has been activated, and now when I press this, nothing will happen. As you can see, no payload has been delivered to the debug node in here, so the holiday mode is activated. Now there's a couple of things to point out. First of all, I have a light in here which uses a Google Home command via gbridge. Now this command then is sent to the holiday mode node, and that node will check if the holiday has been set. If the holiday hasn't been set, then obviously I'm going to translate this message into specific messages that I need for Zigbee, which is state off and state on, and control my Zigbee device in here. And that switch node has to be drawn for every single voice action you have in your Node-RED server. That way you will be able to control all of them at once. Now if you want to have a different holiday types or different events, for example like a night mode, you can deploy different global variables as well. Just bear in mind this is the best done with the global variable, because the flow variable obviously is going to be just within the single flow. Now to set the password, I've created this very easy flow in here that you can, after delete it once you set the password, what it's going to do, it's going to be basically going to encrypt your password. In here it's 1234 obviously for testing, encrypt it and store that as hash on the server. Now once you've done that, you can feel free to delete the password, so there will be no trace of it, and that way you don't store the passwords as in a text document. Now if you want to basically deal with disabling holiday mode, there's a couple of things you have to do. First, we're going to receive HTTP request. That HTTP request is directed to holiday password, and it will deliver that pin. Now that pin is assigned to the message password, and once that's been assigned to a different object, then I can download this hash using flow get. So I'm just downloading this hash from here, and I can decrypt this. I decrypted that, I have decrypted password, I have decrypted a payload, I have a submitted password, and then I can check if those two are similar. Now attempts right now I've set for 5, but you can either set it globally by flow, and I will check if the count has been set, and then depending on what is my number of attempts, if that number of attempts reach my maximum, then obviously I'm going to exit it out saying the wrong password entered too many times. Now if that haven't been reached yet, so the maximum is 5, I'm going to check that versus the password I've submitted to current pass to a password that I've been storing on the server. Now if that's been correct, then I'm gonna deactivate holiday mode. If it's incorrect, then I'm just going to increase the count, save the count in the second line, and then say that wrong password, you have so many tries left, and if you going to fail so many times, obviously you're gonna lock yourself out. Now if you want to restore that recent count, all you have to do is just trigger this in here I've got every 1 hour. I'm going to trigger this function which simply resets the count to 0. Now that's pretty much everything that you need to know about this. So when you're issuing voice commands about it, you're gonna use IFTTT. So I'm calling a voice action with ingredient number, which you can use a hash to substitute for it, and then I'm linking this with a webhook. So I'm making a web request back to my Node-RED server. I've got the DNS set up, and I've got username and password. So as soon as I'm gonna pass this over as a post and format it as a JSON, I send that information as a JSON message. Now that's been received in my Node-RED, and when I receive this as a password, this obviously goes through entire this flow in here, gets evaluated, and if the password was correct, the holiday mode is going to be deactivated, otherwise the holiday mode will be still on. This mode can be applied to every single device in your Node-RED server, and it really depends whether you use the Alexa and Node-RED's integration or whether you use a Google integration via Bridge. It's down to you, but both will work, and you will be able to decide for every single device whether you want to have that holiday mode in a very simple manner. Now, this setup can be part of your home automation. You can deploy it overnight automatically. You can have it as a voice command like I do for holiday mode, or you can do whatever you want with it. You can apply it just to a specific group of devices, or you can apply it to all of devices at the same time. You can have different modes, one for the night mode to disable certain devices, one for the holiday mode to disable all of the devices, or you can just walk around the home and mute the devices in a more traditional way. That's down to you. So do let me know what you think, guys. Are you scared of voice hacking? Do you think Dustin's video has an essence to it and this is a practical way of trying to hack anyone? Or is just a very interesting use case scenario in a lab conditions? As usual, guys, I do not have a posting schedule, so if you're interested in my content, I will light the pointer here and I'm gonna point at you until you click on the social media down below and follow me on your favorite social media so you get a notification each time I post an article or a video. You know how YouTube works, so take advantage of this. And for now, thanks so much for watching, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.